the roots of what crime is, and that's poverty, poverty, poverty.
Got to get the guns off our streets.
We must have a ban on assault weapons. You've got to get more dollars to help those with special needs.
And they have decided that the death penalty is no longer the law of the land in Maryland, and I agree with Maryland voters.
We know the death penalty is racist.
Would you favor a proposal in which small donations could be matched by the federal government to even the playing field in future elections?
I'm the candidate that can beat Larry Hogan. Not one poll has said anything different.
After $45 million have been spent in this race to defeat me, we are within a statistical tie.
Do you believe the state's congressional delegation should look more like the people who elected them?
I'm not a politician. I drive our Democratic Party.
I'll raise the corporate tax rate.
Those clips you just saw were from the debate for the Maryland Democratic nomination for the Senate seat. The two people running are David Trone, a co-founder of the Total Wine and More Company, and the Prince George's County executive Angela Alsobrooks. This debate went about as you would expect. They tried to out-left each other. They said Republicans are horrible. They said guns need to be banned, and they're going to fix crime, of course. The race overall has had some interesting moments. David Trone got really mad at a local Fox station because he tweeted out something about police, which they then covered and asked him about. He was not happy with it.
I just want to say one thing. You should be ashamed of the journalism that you did yesterday. You had a 20
I should be ashamed?
No, you should be ashamed. We had a 20-line tweet.
Not ashamed,
Congressman. It was very thoughtful, and you took one line out of 20.
Took two lines.
You took one line out of 20, and you should be ashamed of that type of journalism, and shame on Fox. Fox needs to step up and do real journalism, and you didn't do it there.
I did the story. Fox
did
did
for Larry Hogan. So keep shilling for Larry Hogan.
We spoke with Angelo.
Do that.
Alsobrooks.
Feel free to shill. But that's all I've got to say. Go back and read the whole section of tweets.
Well, we did.
It was very supportive of our police. No, you didn't. You didn't, and you're just.
I did read all three.
And you're just making it up. So thank you.
Now, take a look at your screen. You'll see Trone's social media posts. This all started Sunday when Trone posted to X saying the state's justice system was, quote, systemically racist and that increased police presence doesn't make everyone feel safe. Critics were taking his words as that Trone wants less police at a time when departments across the country have staffing issues while communities face serious spikes in crime. Now, Tom tried to ask Trone about this multiple times before you saw that exchange. Trone's main opponent, Angela Alsobrooks, she responded to the post saying he doesn't have experience dealing with crime. She called out Trone's temperament this morning.
And then another Trone moment was he put out an ad that said his opponent would need training wheels in D.C., which was then deemed racist and offensive by the left. So he took it out of the ad and then reposted it without the training wheels part, because apparently training wheels is a racist, offensive term.
Our conversation, Congressman David Trone critiqued Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks' record of public service, calling the former prosecutor and state's attorney a career politician. But that isn't what had people talking the most this week. Explaining why he's the best candidate for the job, the three-term congressman said.
This job is not for someone on training wheels. This job is for someone that's really been doing the work.
The term training wheels was also echoed by Prince George's County Council member Edward Burrows in a recently released Trone ad.
The U.S. Senate is not a place for training wheels.
This week, more than, quote, 650 black women leaders and allies of Alsobrooks signed onto a statement denouncing the comment, calling it disparaging and misogynistic. Quickly, Trone's campaign replaced that ad with a new version, removing the training wheels line. The Trone campaign is also playing defense this week over how he characterized the support he's gotten in Prince George's County, in particular over Alsobrooks, like Attorney General Anthony Brown and State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy. Take a look at our exchange.
The people that know that county the best, ironically, all came to us.
Yeah, but not a majority. I mean, we want to be clear that, yeah, there are some people in Prince George's County, but not a majority.
The people in Prince George's County that stuck with her were the low-level folks. The top-level folks, that's called the Attorney General, I think. Yeah. I think that's called the state's attorney, I think. Right. I think that's called the senior senator, I think. I think they're the top-level folks.
I've heard from a number of elected officials who live in Prince George's County and say they were offended by those comments, including the chair of the county council, Jolene Ivey, and Maryland's treasurer, Derek Davis, who told News 4 he was offended that Trone called any elected position low level.
What would you do about the crime Marylanders are facing and Baltimoreans are facing? Again, this question for both of you.
First of all,
Mr. Trone, please, first.
Yep. First of all, thank you for that crime. I mean, with crime, we've got to hold folks accountable. I mean, that's step number one, accountability. But on top of that, we got to look at the roots of what crime is, and that's poverty, poverty, poverty. And the solutions of that are education. We've got to get folks the education they need. Age 3, full-day kindergarten, full-day school, full-day pre-K at age 4, and then right on up. But that's the key of that, and then, of course, getting jobs. If we don't have folks a job, 75% recidivate. If they have a job, that recidivism's 8%. There's 2.3 million folks right now incarcerated. 95%, they're coming out. So that means that we can get them a job. We literally save almost 2 million crimes. My company, Total Wine & More, we've hired over 1,400 returning citizens. It's about a job.
Ms. Alsobrooks?
Well, you know, first of all, tonight I can only imagine what the parents are feeling of these students who were just trying to enjoy their activities leading up to their graduation and their prom. I'm a mother of an 18-year-old daughter who last year at this same exact time wanted to enjoy the final days of her senior year, and they should have felt safe and actually should have been safe today. Not only in Baltimore and Prince George's, but all across our state. Every child deserves to be safe in the communities in which they live. I have dedicated my life, really, to making sure that families have safe places to live. This is how I came into public service in the first place, as state's attorney. I have invested in the youth of Prince George's County, funding our school systems at the highest rate we've seen in the history of the county, investing in mental health care, summer programming, summer jobs, making sure that their families have affordable places to live. But we also do have to hold our children accountable. We have to get these guns off the street. I will do so as a senator. Really getting conscientious and sensible gun legislation is necessary. We've got to get the guns off our streets.
Baltimore City is suing the ATF to get gun trace data that is currently prohibited from being shared publicly due to some amendments that have been attached to DOJ appropriation bills for years. We know that Mayor Brandon Scott is suing the ATF. If elected, would you support repealing or loosening that regulation to provide that data to the public so these cities can get that information?
You know, I think I agree with Mayor Scott that we have really got to make sure that we have all the information we need to solve crimes. I think the federal government certainly has a role to play, and I can tell you this much. We have seen too many games played in Congress.
Yeah, no, there's no question we've got to support municipalities and getting the information so we can track and follow up on these weapons. And we voted last session in Congress to do a complete ban on all assault weapons. And we must have a ban on assault weapons.
What oversight parameters would you like to see implemented at the federal level to help foster better outcomes for students in our classrooms?
At the end of the day, I think we all realize that we're not winning as much as we like to win in education. If we get education right, that's really the key thing we can do, is take care of our kids and our grandchildren. If they've got that educational founding that's solid, they're going to succeed. So we've got to get more dollars to help those with special needs, first of all. I was endorsed by the teachers union, 75,000 strong. We're very appreciative of that. We need more teachers. We need better pay for our teachers. And we need respect for our teachers.
So I will ensure as a senator that every child, without respect for your zip code, has a quality education by funding Title I funding, making sure that we invest in the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act so that our children with disabilities are also able to have a sound education.
As you know, the federal government is considering, or rather members of Congress are considering seeking a repeal of the federal death penalty. Would you support such a repeal?
So, you know, what I can tell you is that Marylanders have spoken, and they have decided that the death penalty is no longer the law of the land in Maryland, and I agree with Maryland voters.
I'm the only candidate on the stage that's always been 100% opposed to the death penalty. We know the death penalty is racist, It feeds our systemically racist system that we have in the criminal justice area.
Do you believe the federal government has a role in regulating IVF nationally? And if so, how would you work with other members in the Senate to get your view accomplished?
There's no role for the federal government to moderate and regulate a woman's health choices. These are the choice between a woman and her doctor, and no one else should be involved in that. Certainly no person in the political specter.
I can tell you that this issue is a very personal one to me. As the mother of an 18-year-old daughter, I believe so firmly that the privacy and freedom that women deserve to make their own decisions about their bodies belong to a woman and a woman only.
What's the federal government's role in the larger conversation when it comes to public transit, and how would you ensure accountability and oversight for the federal dollars that would be coming to regions like Baltimore City to ensure that the projects don't balloon and we actually see results?
First of all, we have to recognize and pay respect to the 6 workers that lost their lives from Mexico, from Honduras, from El Salvador, from Guatemala. They've lost their lives working on a tough shift, a night shift, and a tough job. And often we demonize immigrants. But these folks are some of the greatest Americans that are working really hard for our country, day, in this case, night. So their loss we have to recognize. Then we got to support the longshoremen and all the other folks that are there working, have lost their jobs.
You know, I think we never can lose sight of the fact that this bridge collapse started with the tragedy of the 6 lives that were lost. I was happy to right away deploy our divers who went to the scene, and I spoke with Governor Wes Moore, reached out also to the mayor of Baltimore as well as the county executive of Baltimore, and we were able to assist in the efforts there to recover the individuals who lost their lives. What I can tell you is in rebuilding that bridge, it's going to be very important to not only get the infrastructure dollars that are going to be necessary to build the bridge, but to make sure that we are securing the jobs of the 15,000 individuals who have been impacted, as well as getting small business loans to the businesses who have been impacted.
Yes, as you know, Congressman Trone has the ability to largely self-fund his campaign, which has given him an advantage in campaign spending and media buys. Would you favor a proposal in which small donations could be matched by the federal government to even the playing field in future elections?
So what we've seen in this race before, first of all, I am so grateful to have the support of a very broad coalition across the state of Maryland. That coalition involves people like Governor Moore and, of course, again, Senator Van Hollen, Congressman Hoyer, Congressman Jamie Raskins, so many others, Delegate Stephanie Smith, who is here with us tonight, so many. I'm also proud to be supported by Marylanders who have contributed to my campaign, over thousands of people who have contributed to our campaign. Having said that, what we have seen in this race before, having spent over $45 million of self-funding, the highest ever in history, I don't believe this is the way democracy works. I think that we should have reform in these campaigns. That's the reason I'm pleased to have been endorsed by End Citizens United. We got to get the big money out of campaigns. And I would support that kind of reform as a senator because, again, these campaigns should be about people. It should not be about money.
Congressman Trone.
Well, first I want to mention the entire Democratic leadership in Congress. Hakeem Jeffries, Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar, the entire leadership endorses us and supports us because they understand we get stuff done. We get stuff over the finish line. 26 bills passed last time just on addiction and mental health alone, plus Pell Grant bills to help returning citizens. But we've got to get the money out of the politics that's really poisoning our system. And I'm the only candidate on this stage that doesn't take money from Exxon. They're not helping us in the environment, I don't think. I'm the only candidate here that doesn't take money from Pfizer. Pfizer's not helping us bring drug costs down. I'm the only candidate that doesn't take money from Cigna. I know how difficult they are when I try and make mental health claims. And of course, he only doesn't take money from the National Restaurant Association, who wants to pay our waiters and waitresses $3.65 an hour. That's wrong. That needs to be 15 plus tips.
What makes you more electable than your opponent?
So first of all, thank you for that. You know, what I have to say is...
That should be for Congressman Trone, I believe. That's okay.
Okay.
Yep, we're a little...
Roger, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. And electability, that's absolutely the key. And there is no question, every single poll has said the same thing. I'm the candidate that can beat Larry Hogan. Not one poll has said anything different.
Well, you know, what we do know the polls are showing is that after $45 million have been spent in this race to defeat me, we are within a statistical tie in this race, that we are tied in this race with a large number of undecided voters.
The U.S. Census says Maryland's population is 51% female. Do you believe the state's congressional delegation should look more like the people who elected them?
You know, we've had really distinguished representation in Maryland, and included in that representation was a super bad Senator Barbara Mikulski, Gladys Noon Spellman, Connie Morella. We have had women in our delegation. It is the fact now that out of our 10-person delegation, all 10 of them are men. I believe that every one of us ought to be able to look in the Senate of the United States and see themselves.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a career politician. This goes from one job to the next job to the next job. I'm a public servant. I'm here to work for the folks of Maryland, to get Maryland a better state, have a better country across the aisle. So yes, I've supported many, many great diversity candidates, and will continue to do so across the country, like Lucy McBath in Georgia, Lauren Underwood in Illinois. Matter of fact, in the last couple decades, I've given over $20 million to Democrats at the federal level. I'm the largest donor to Democrats in the last 3 cycles. I drive our Democratic Party, not only in the House, but also in the Senate.
Do you believe that TikTok presents a national security threat because of its ties to China, and do you believe TikTok should be banned?
Yes. I voted to change the ownership of TikTok, and that's the real issue.
I understand that there are lots of security risks that we have to really be concerned about. I think we ought to have guardrails in place. I think we should be careful about who owns TikTok. But I am also really in favor of making sure that all of the technologies that we have, many of our young people use these technologies for things that are also good. And so I think we should be really careful as we talk about things like banning TikTok.
What is your preferred approach to solving the climate change problem?
Well, you know, first of all, I want to just say that for so many of us, we walked out of our front doors last year and you could smell wildfires as you walked out your door. So what we know about climate is this is not a far off problem. It is something that we must act on now. It's something that I've acted on as county executive, investing over $1 billion, for example, in stormwater management.
I'd just like to add a little bit of humor. The Washington Post had a lot of really nice, positive things to say, and I thank them for that. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I dodged a bullet. I mean, last race, they got it wrong for governor. They got it wrong for attorney general. They got it wrong for comptroller. So let's hope they can keep their streak up. That said, the Inflation Reduction Act, which President Biden did, $370 billion, is the biggest thing we've ever done to address our climate. This is the most important challenge we've got in our lifetimes.
When it comes to climate change and all of these initiatives that we're seeing from Congress, the money has to come from somewhere to fund all of this. So how would you plan to actually fund these priorities and these initiatives without continuing to expand on the national debt and the deficit? Yeah. You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
30 seconds, quick.
The national debt's $34 trillion. We can't live forever on that. I'm a business guy through and through, done business all my life. I get a P&L statement. $200 billion comes back by getting rid of the Trump tax cut for the big companies who are paying an average of 12% in taxes. 12%. You don't pay 12. No one here pays 12. But that's what those big corporations are paying.
The truth of the matter is that we can't afford not to invest in climate. Again, this is a real and present threat. Walking out your front door, smelling the wildfires, the floods. We really can't afford not to act on climate. I agree that we're going to have to make sure we deal with these greedy corporations, raise the corporate tax rate.